Among the latest of live-action remakes of classic Disney films, we have Dumbo, directed by creative genius Tim Burton. While I do share the concern about too many beloved classics being remade and possibly ruined, this was one of the ones that I was very curious about, considering the original animated film didn't exactly have much of a plot, but had some really beautiful animation and heartfelt moments. Basic plot of the original, and also this movie, is that a baby elephant, dubbed as Dumbo, is born with extremely large ears that hinder his mobility, but yet it gives him the ability to fly like any bird. But unlike the original film, this had a more convincing narrative with more human characters this time, but the focus is still mostly on the adorable baby elephant. Now, in terms of how this movie goes in terms of the narrative, the first portion of the film stays mostly accurate to the original, with some new things here and there. And sadly, it was very rushed. Even though the song Baby of Mine, while done well, doesn't really get that much screen time, which is kind of unfortunate, because that's kind of the one song a lot of people remember, and didn't really care about the human characters in the beginning either, but when the first portion kind of passes, the film does actually do really well and goes into the real narrative. Tim Burton has taken Dumbo and made it his own reimagining after getting the accurate things out of the way with, and this is where I think the film actually does shine a bit. Now, while the accurate stuff before is done pretty well, I think that Tim's new take on the story is actually very welcoming and very fresh, which is something I always love in most of his movies, whether they be remakes or original ideas. I've always admired him for his visual style and weird yet wondrous world building, and oh boy, did he deliver on this one. The cast was pretty solid, with stars like Colin Farrell, Eva Green, Danny Devito, and Michael Keaton. There were also some kid stars that kind of served as the stand-in mentors of the movie, and I didn't really like their acting all that much, but the other adult characters did a really good job overall, especially Michael Keaton. You can never go wrong with Michael Keaton. Oh, and just to let you guys know, of course, the mouse is actually here, but is reduced to a cameo because there are no talking animals in this movie. So yeah, the kids do take up the mentor role of the mouse, and sadly they're quite boring and flat in that regard. And once again, the visuals are just really stunning, and perhaps the best example is the pink elephant scene. Yes, they did that scene from the original, and it is fantastic. It's easily my favorite in the entire movie, and I couldn't stop smiling. While it does happen very differently than the original and stuff, it still had that same impact to me. The movie actually does have a lot of heartfelt moments as well, much like the original, but even has some of its own, and it's not afraid to get dark and serious when it needs to be. There are also some really good themes in the film that Tim Burton expertly puts together well as taking a jab at big corporations a big way, even making fun of Disney in the process, which you never really thought you would see. And again, for some people, they may not like this movie, but I really did. So overall, I really enjoyed this film, but I feel like it's going to be one of these years' kind of underrated movies, which was because it wasn't widely advertised, and it was unfortunate. But I do recommend absolutely seeing this movie, whether it's going to be in theaters or if you want to wait for it on DVD. It's not the best of the films that have come out that are live-action remakes and stuff, but it's definitely one of the good ones. And Tim Burton definitely just had a great handle of the movie, at least in the final half. If he had full control of the movie, I think this would have been a lot better, a lot of better narrative pace, and probably a better beginning. So it could have been better, but overall, I like the result. So I'm going to give Dumbo a 8.5